Yeah, so as I was sharing, even in the introduction that I emailed all of you, I won't repeat all of that, why we are here. We all know why we are here, and we might have some objectives already in our mind that we want to develop this and that aspects of my writing. So I hope all of you have watched the video. Did you guys watch? In the email, I shared an introductory video about the course. Can anyone respond?
Yes, I watched.
Yes.
Yeah, I watched.
And if you didn't get it, let me know. I'm expecting everyone watched it, so I'll not get to those details. The next thing is I expected scholarly articles from all of you. Before I move on to today's lecture, can you share who couldn't share the scholarly articles and why? Or if you have any confusion, let's talk about it right now.
Sorry, like where we can share the scholarly, should we mail you or like?
Yeah, right. You can just email me the 3 scholarly articles in the same email thread where I asked for it. That would be easier for me right now. Yeah. And not necessary that if you're new as a PhD student or a master's student, so you might not have a research topic right now, and that's okay. That's okay. Just for the course purpose, so that we can practice the writing style and just to go with it. Select any scholarly articles that you are interested in, that you think you might work on it in future. That's also fine. So any 3 scholarly articles, but I preferred published in the US. That would be the best samples that we can refer during the course. And I was about to ask all of you that you know about our library resources or not before we begin. So if you click in this link, you all have access to the slide as well, by the way. So I am expecting, if you go to Canvas, you click on the module, right? And you can see here, I always upload the slide in class section. Pre-class means things that you have to perform before coming to the class. And all of you have been here in Canvas?
Yes.
Yeah, good. So I am expecting you watched the pre-class task videos or website links or any PDFs, whatever I have attached. And if not, that's fine. Today is the first class. I'm not expecting everyone to do everything. Yeah, it's okay. Just letting you know for the further classes that would be helpful. And this one is in EAP form. That is a formality I have to submit to my office, just for office record, some information about each student. This is a class recording consent form. We'll record every class, and we might use that in our CSLC Notre Dame website or any promotional purposes. So every class will be recorded, not only the Zoom. I mean, whenever we'll be in class in person in 308 room number in Bond Hall. This is Padlet. I haven't seen everyone's comment in Padlet. If you click on this link, it will take you here. Just to understand why we are here, everyone might have different agenda. So I created a few questions and queries, you can say, just to understand everyone's objectives. So you can just click on the link, it will take you here. You can see the instructions and the queries or where you can respond. So feel free to do it. That's the pre-class part. In-class lecture slide, so where I was, let's get back there. I want to start with library tour because many of you might not know that we have librarian for all the departments, for all specific fields. You can choose your librarian. You can meet your librarian. If you go to the Hesburgh website, you can book appointments and services, take the services. If you do not know which journals you should study for the topic you're interested in, your librarian can suggest you. And gradually you can generate your topic. So in order to collect the literature review or the references that you will be using in your paper in future, I would suggest always get appointments with the librarian collect your resources, because that's very helpful. And we will need that during our course. But if you're already very much focused and if you know all the resources that you want to use, then it's okay. I'm just letting you know in case it happens in research in the beginning stage that we might not know, and the librarian can help us. All good? And before we begin, a few slippery slopes or pitfalls, I call it, that I always share before lecturing on academic writing. The 4 don'ts, most prominent don'ts, because it's the pre-writing stage when we are brainstorming our topic, and we might make a logical fallacy, or there are many slippery slopes. So we'll talk about those slippery slopes very briefly today. The first is logical fallacy, like when 2 incidents are not connected, but we think they are logically connected. So beware of this logical fallacy when we are in the pre-writing stage, when we were reading resources, and we are perhaps getting there in our claim, what topic I want to work on. And we have some logic at the back of our mind. So that's why it's better to know in the beginning. We call it also post hoc. That logical fallacy, you can see the examples. Let's say a black cat crosses the road and I get hit by a car, and don't connect these 2 events. They are not logically connected. Do not say the black cat gave me bad luck. So those kind of logical fallacy we'll avoid in academic writing. And if we see others writing and such kind of logical connection, we can also give feedback that we can see a logical fallacy here in this paragraph. The next is slippery slope. Slippery slope is, we might have been through it, everyone, or I definitely, yes, when our parents say, oh, don't do your homework, you'll fail in class. If you fail in class, you'll not graduate from school. If you don't graduate, you'll not get there, you'll not get a good job, you'll not get married, you'll be homeless, you'll be poor. And so that's a slippery slope. That's not logically actually connected, because the outcome is based on hypothesis without any proof. So we cannot make these slippery slopes during the brainstorming stage or the pre-writing stage. Single cause, the third element that we should avoid while making inference when we are reading resources and developing our topic. Single cause means there could be many causes of one incident. Let's say World War I begins and Ferdinand was shot. So that doesn't mean that it was the only reason World War I begins. There could be many other reasons. That was one of those. So we have to be aware of this kind of fallacy as well. Circular reasoning, we see it often in students' writings, that we say the same thing again and again in different language or different expression, vocabulary. But the reason actually is same. So you're saying the same thing in the same sentence. For instance, this example, the Bible is true, so you should not doubt the word of God. So actually it's the same thing said in 2 clauses. The first clause, but the Bible is true, you should not doubt the word of God, is the same thing. So this is called circular reasoning, when you're reasoning the same, repeating the same thing. For instance, the last example, you must obey the law because it is illegal to break the law. So actually, we're saying the same thing. So we have to be very careful about circular reasoning. These are very silly, simple examples, but when we will get into a big paper, then actually we sometimes we might get misguided, and it's difficult to find out whether I'm making a logical fallacy or slippery slope or any kind of fallacy or not. So I share always before getting into the theoretical arena of academic writing that be careful while making your inferences. I hope we all are aware of the word inference. Anyone is there who would like me to talk about what the word inference means? You can ask me. We all know what inference is, because I titled this slide as "Don't make these mistakes while making inferences." I hope you all know. So inference is when we read something and we do not summarize, paraphrase that. We make our own invention with that knowledge. So inference is actually a blend of your claim and all the things at the back of your mind that you read. So those resources plus your own knowledge. So that's inference. It's kind of like your reasoning along with the previous knowledge. That's what inference is. And that's the pre-stage when we collect 5, 10, 20 resource papers, whatever paper you're working on. So you're collecting previous knowledge and then you're adding your own. So that's the pre-writing stage. So let's get back. When we're talking about do's and don'ts, the first thing is if you go to Canvas module, as I shared also in that introductory video, there are 3 videos here in pre-class task. All are simple. The most important that I expect all of you must watch and might have already watched it, objective tone. Anyone who didn't or couldn't make it to watch it before this class today, you can tell me. If I assume that you all have watched it, then my approach will be different. If I assume that you haven't watched it, then my approach will be different for today's lecture.
I didn't watch it.
I didn't
also.
Yeah.
But thank you. It's fine. And it's feel free to say,
Yeah.
it's okay. All good. I got it. So it's fine. You can watch it today after the class. That's fine. So what it talks about, I'll just briefly point it out. It talks about the objective style of writing. So there are 2 styles, emotive or subjective, and objective, which means the actor is not present. The experiment is present, right? So I'm being non-biased. So it is called objective approach. So where the experiment, the data, that's what is important, not my personal feelings or biasness. So that's what is objectivity in writing. And that's how we begin. So in order to be objective in language, what things we do? We try to avoid personal nouns like I and we. We can use this paper aims at. We can use this kind of impersonal subjects or nouns, right? Or this report shows that. So those kind of examples you get from here. We use passive in many ways, also in academic writing, because it takes away the actor from the sentence, right? So the experiment was conducted. If you want to focus on the experiment was conducted versus another way of saying it, we made or we did the experiment. We try to avoid we did the experiment. Rather, you can say the experiment was conducted in that condition, in that situation, whatever, blah, blah, that goes on. Okay, so those kind of objectivity in language, you'll get there. One important aspect that you might not be aware of about that particular video, that is ergative verbs. If you have heard about ergative verbs, I haven't written all these things because that video explains everything. So that's why this the do's and don'ts, and the do part is objective tone, where I'm talking about all these things, how to make your writing objective by using impersonal pronoun or noun as a subject, and ergative verbs, for example. You can see the video. The example is, let's say, the powder dissolved in the water. So when I'm saying the powder dissolved in the water, actually the powder wasn't dissolved there by itself. Someone did it, right? So it's kind of ergative verb, doesn't look like passive, but it gives you the tone of passive. I can write it here if it's easier for you to follow. So the powder or the white powder or whatever. So let's say this is a sentence. The powder dissolved. So dissolve is an ergative verb. Dissolved in the water. Here, dissolve is an ergative verb, but it's not passive. It looks like passive. Someone else is doing it, right? So we can use ergative verbs as well in order to make any sentence objective. Could you please mute yourself? Thank you. So that's the video is all about, how we can achieve objective tone in writing. And it explains with examples very well. So just giving you a brief idea what we talk about when we say objectivity in writing. Now most importantly, what I want to talk about is don'ts. I have already shared a few don'ts as logical fallacy. Now I'm going to talk about phrasal verbs that we use often. For instance, I have here given you links as well. If you click on the footnote 1 and footnote 2, it will take you to the link of phrasal verbs and nominalization. First of all, let's talk about phrasal verbs. We do not use phrasal verbs like group verbs. For instance, look into. Rather, you can say examine. So if you can say something in one word, do not use two words. That's the very primary rule of academic writing. Nominalization means verbs which are used as nouns. And long string of nominalization will make your writing less comprehensible. It will not be smooth. For instance, if I take you to this link, let me show you an example of nominalization. So sometimes nominalization is important. We need to use it, but not always. For instance, the verb intend, from this verb, the noun intention has derived. Now, the point is, let's say, long string of nominalization. One example I'm giving you from here. We use lots of articles and prepositions when we talk about nominalization. So let's say many children experience worries. So that's a very easily comprehensible sentence. But if you nominalize it, the experience of children, so that's how, and this is a very short example. When it will be longer, then it will be incomprehensible to understand. So nominalizations and long string of nominalization can make the writing uneasy to follow. That's why it's something that we usually avoid in academic writing. Good.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So we should avoid it or we should use it?
You can see my screen, don'ts, phrasal verbs and nominalization.
Yeah, thank you.
And do's is the objective tone. And about the objective tone, I shared video where you can watch the 5 rules of being objective in academic writing. How you source, you can mention like being objective as in rather than saying, I studied it and I got that result, you can say studies reveal that, right? So you are making studies as subject. That's one way. So there are many other ways of the kind of subject you'll be using in order to be objective in your writing.
Sorry to disturb you. Can you talk about the phrasal verb again? Just frequent.
Can you come again? Didn't get you.
About the phrasal verb again.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'll take you to the link of the phrasal verb so that we can have a look at many examples. So for instance, phrasal verbs like look into, come across, look up. We often use it in any writing or speech, right? But in academic writing, it's preferred you use examine rather than look into. You use verify rather than look up or check out. Better to use find than come across. So it's use one word, not group verbs. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, good. So now I'll take you to per user because we need to see real-time examples, real-time as in real academic examples and sentences, passages, not these informal examples. So if you all click, do you know how to get to per user, by the way, all of you? Because I have seen not everyone access per user. Only a few access per user. I can help you out. Let me know if you need help to get access to per user.
Can you drop the link to the chat?
It's better if I don't do that because then it will be difficult for you to log in. It's better you just click per user. Here. It will be difficult.
Sorry, what is?
If you have watched the introductory video, I have shared the pre-class tasks that you watch, and also I have shared how to use per user. You can click here, this link in Canvas. It will take you to this page.
Oh,
Make sense? And why we
yeah,
need to use
thanks.
it, because it's a reading platform where we can read together. Yeah. So the book I have uploaded in per user. This is our book, the one and only book that will follow in class. I shared the book also in the email. If you have the hard copy, that's fine. If you don't have it yet, that's okay. We can do it together here in per user. Let me show you again. Click per user, and it should take you there. Also, in the first email, I shared per user class code. I emailed all of you that in the first email. Yeah. We all could get in. Let me know if we couldn't. Should I give you 1 or 2 minutes?
So are we working on the first assignment here? Or?
No, I'll tell you that. Just get in first.
Okay, yeah.
No worries, yeah. Now, let me explain also. Whatever you see in the assignment column, it's not an assignment for our course, but the way they title it is assignment. So you can call it class activity. Make sense? So whatever I'll upload here, it's for class activity only. You don't have to submit any assignments in per user. Our base is Canvas. Here you'd see all the assignments whenever we have to do anything.
There is a one assignment, right? Like the writing task where we have to summarize the tasks.
I'll talk about it. Yes, this one, diagnostic writing submission. Yeah, this one.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What you want? Yeah, yeah. But we'll get there. This is for lecture 2. We are now in lecture 1, so let's get started first. Are we all in per user? Do you need help logging in or any difficulty you're facing? I can help you, or you can share your screen, things like that. Let me see if my sharing screens option is on. Yeah, I opened the option. If any of you is facing any difficulty, let me know. Omkar maybe joined late, right? Omkar, you couldn't introduce yourself when we all introduced ourselves.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. No, don't say sorry. It's fine. Cool. Relax.
So what do you need for the introduction? I mean, I can quickly introduce myself.
We were just sharing our names and from where we are. That's it.
Oh, so I'm Omkar. I'm in electrical engineering, like almost about to complete my 2nd year in PhD, and I'm from India. Yep, that's it.
Welcome, Omkar. We all could get into per user. We all need to, by the way. We all must, actually. Otherwise, I cannot proceed. Yeah. You raised your hand, Omkar. Oh, by the way, guys, you don't have to raise your hand. You just can say things what you have to say by unmuting yourself. Because I might not be focusing on the Zoom sidebar. So who's raising hand? Because when I'm focusing on the book or the slide or, so I'll miss it if someone raises hand. Go ahead, Omkar, you raised your hand.
No, it was my mistake. Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. Thank you. So let's begin. I hope all of you could get in per user. Please respond. You all could get in?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Anyone who needs help? Awesome. So we all are here. So now we'll click. First of all, let me introduce what we have here. In per usual, you have your papers that you submitted to me, the 3 scholarly papers. You can see your name folders. If you can't see your name and folder, that means you didn't submit, or I missed it, or maybe you did it just right before, a few minutes before the class, so I couldn't get time to do it, but I'll do it if I have that in my email. And those who have folders on their names, if you want to change your paper, the resources that you have submitted, you can do that here. Let's say I have seen in earlier semesters, students might say, the 3 scholarly papers are submitted, I want to change them. That's okay. You can change it. You can directly change it. You don't have to email me again. Oh, good. You should have access to these folders, so you can delete and upload those 3 things, 3 scholarly papers. So let's begin. This is the book we'll be studying in this course. And the first task is that we'll do together right now. If you go here, page number. On the book, the page is page 4. In per usual, if you type 14 up on that box, you can see a box here in per usual. It will directly take you to this page. Task 3. And it's a pretty simple task. Today's topic or today's agenda is just to understand various styles of writing and language. So this particular task is just read these 2 passages, passage A and passage B. And then what difference we see in these 2 passages, we'll discuss that together. You don't have to write anything. You don't have to submit anything. It's just we'll discuss what we see in passage A, or how these 2 things are different in terms of style, or the different, are they written for different audience? But both of them are almost in the same topic. So just passage A and passage B. We'll just read it and discuss together. So I don't think it will take much time. Let's take 5 minutes for reading these 2 passages, and then we'll talk about the stylistics of writing in these 2 passages. Is there anyone who couldn't get onto this page?
Yes, I couldn't.
How can I help you? You want to share your screen? Who couldn't? Aruna?
Yes.
Yes, please. How can I help you?
So, like, can you tell me where to go in the presentation?
Can you share your screen?
Assignments?
Then I can. Is it possible?
Hello.
Yeah. Can you share your screen, or should I show you on my screen?
I was trying to, but I can't share
Okay.
the screen.
Can you try again? It should be open.
Host disabled participants credential.
All participants. Oh, sorry about
Okay,
that.
let me try with you.
Yeah, I opened it now. You can share your screen now. Sorry about that.
Oh, I got it actually. Thank you.
You got it? Nice.
Yeah.
So if you go to Canvas, you'll get the per user link. You click on it, it will take you there. Anyone else who couldn't get there?
Okay, I'm still finding it difficult opening it. Is it I should open the book from the library? Or
Are you in per user or no?
yes, I'm in Perusa, but I'm trying to use my tablet to open it.
Yeah, so in per user, if you go, you click on the assignment button on top, it will take you here. We have only one assignment, lecture 1.
Okay.
You can follow my screen, yeah. And we are doing task 3. This is task 3, where we are reading these 2 passages, and we'll discuss the difference between these 2 passages. Passage A, passage B. It's on page number 14. If you type on top in this box 14, it will take you on this page. Oh, good. Could I help you? You can also write your observation, anything that you want to say about these two passages. The difference, particularly we're talking about the difference between these two passages. Anything, it's an open field. So you can write here, let's say, you want to say here, highlight this, and then you can write a comment. On your left hand side, you'd see the comment bar, the section where you can write something like this. So if you want to write your opinion on these two passages, that's also possible. It's not necessary you have to speak up if you don't want to speak.
Hey,
Yeah.
so I should just like highlight the question and provide answer in the comment.
First of all, I am not telling anyone to answer any questions here. You'll see many questions here. We don't have to go through question 1, 2, 3, 4. Just
Think about it.
Yeah, just passage 1 and A and B. Any difference that you find, you can highlight
Okay, cool.
in any section and write your opinion.
Just highlight the text.
Yeah, you can highlight the text if you want, highlight a word if you want. That's also cool. But you cannot write. That's thank you for asking this question, by the way, because you cannot write without highlighting. I guess you figured it out already. Yeah. Yeah, you cannot write a comment without highlighting. That's the problem with per user, but that's fine. Yeah. We don't need to go to in detail question 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thank you. let me know if any of you have done already. We can start the discussion.
I am done.
Awesome, thank you. I can see a few comments as well. That's cool. Most of us, we're done. Yeah, cool. Okay, so before I begin the discussion, if any of you couldn't see the video that I sent in the emails, just letting you know, the whole course, the way we designed it, we'll talk about these things that you can see on my screen in the slide. So we'll try to improve our unity of ideas, the way we express our ideas, and the stylistics and rhetoric of moves in abstract, what is expected in abstract or introduction or literature and methodology, and then results or your data come into chapters. So we'll talk about all these things in the upcoming classes, and we'll write as well our own abstract, our own introduction, not necessarily a new one, by the way. You can submit, whenever I give an assignment, you can submit a paper or an introduction or a chapter of a paper that you did earlier, last year, many years ago. That's not a problem. The most important is having something of your own, and then we discuss it together. And we try to understand the differences and areas which we could work on to improve. So that's more important. I do not mean at all that you have to write abstract, a new one. You can submit an abstract that you wrote 3 years ago. That's also fine. You know, so don't worry about the course intensive attitude of this course, like 5 days a week, submitting things every day. You can submit anything that you wrote earlier. That's also fine. So just letting you all know about that. So let's get back. Today we are talking about, you can see the lesson plan and syllabus here. I hope all of you have seen already the lesson plan. So we'll talk about language and audience. So let's begin this task 3. We can at least come to this conclusion: 2 passages are written for 2 different audience, right? Not the same, similar audience. Let's see, let me read your comments. The text is more descriptive and most likely, who commented it? Namdi? Am I pronouncing you right, Namdi?
Yes, yes.
Thank you for the comment. So down the road, the text is more descriptive and more slightly tailored to a more general audience. The writer did not dwell much on the technical details and explain any technical concepts included. Okay, so let's read together. People have been pulling fresh water out of the ocean, so giving a background in the first sentence. The second sentence, salty water is heated, so being more specific and narrowing down from general to specific context. Then this process, we see this, this is called demonstrative adjective. To maintain a good flow, we see this kind of flows often. How we maintain flow, just giving you some heads up. We see demonstrative adjective like this, that, plus noun. And then we see also sometimes linkers or transition signals or discourse markers, the same thing, like any kind of sentence connectors. We'll get there. There must be some examples later on. Maybe you see however, or although, or whatever. So that's a good flow. This process is this. Now talking about the exception, to make the process more affordable, modern, distillation plants. Okay. The next is, see your next comment, definition of, who wrote this comment? Yilin. Am I pronouncing your name right, Yilin?
Yes.
Yeah, so we get in the first passage the definition here, right? We get the definition of arrow on the 7th sentence. On the contrary, Namdi also wrote that, and also Aruna commented here, paragraph A is focusing on a common audience, whereas B is for specific. So all of you already got it. These two passages are aimed at two different set of audience, and both are fine. We are not saying one is correct in academic writing, one is incorrect. I'll show you more examples before, in the first few classes, before we start writing our own or submitting our own writing. That's why also I collected your scholarly articles. So what I was saying, it depends on the journal. So where you're submitting, or if you're presenting a paper, you have to understand the audience in front of you. So if they need to know a background, then passage A is good. If it's already a knowledgeable background audience, then we don't need to express the background. We can directly start with the definition if you think of it in that way. That's also fine. And what do you think about, if anyone want to say something about these two passages? Do you have any other observation?
Sorry, what if it's not only different audiences, but also different purposes? Like first paragraph describes widely the theme, while second paragraph makes emphasize the specific system. So it's also like well structured, but it makes sense to add something like feature or scheme of the system.
Right, very good. Thank you. It's actually more technical. That's what you mean, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that one is more for a general audience. Yes. And the content is different. The way they detailed the process, correct? The content is very different. And both are academic writing. So it depends on the purpose, depends on the next approach, the next chapter, or the thesis that you want to work on. So both are correct. It's not like one is wrong and one is right. We'll just see a few more warm-up examples today. Anyone else would like to say something about these two passages?
Both of them look as a continuation. So they look, I mean, they are of the same introduction session.
Nice observation.
B follows A. So that's
very good. Very good. Thank you. I was expecting it. It's awesome, really, because that's how we will try to develop our own arguments in future. But it's not necessarily always we have to mention A, depends on the audience, as I just said. But if we see the whole as an introduction and giving a background and then moving to this definition, which is also called extended definition. So it's not only a definition, but also it's talking about the application and the way the process works. The whole passage is actually a definition because we understand the process through this passage. So it's a continuation of the previous. So if 7 is where we first mentioned the way, now we have to talk about this two different style of mentioning definition. Have you observed that when in the first passage, the way they define RO, right, reverse osmosis, and in B, the way they define reverse osmosis. Let's talk about it. The stylistics of language for definition, not same, by the way. Did you see that? Let me write here. We see here as a subject, membrane distillation relies on. That's the subject of the sentence, which makes a huge difference, by the way. And here the subject is reverse osmosis membrane systems are. That makes a huge difference. Do we understand the difference? It's called, in academic writing theory, it's called old to new flow. Old to new information, which is always a better flow. Old to new information means I'm not introducing as my subject something that is incomprehensible or people do not know about at all. I'm introducing new information always in the end. We'll see more examples later on in the upcoming classes and how it is presented in our own disciplines, in our own scholarly papers. Today we're just warming up, by the way, huh? So old to new information is, for instance, in the earlier passage, we see this flow. Membrane distillation relies on, so that's the subject. Reverse osmosis is not the subject. And then you explain later on with the dash, a process in which a thin, so it's the new information is given later. You start with the old and end with the new, and the next sentence same. So that's how the flow is maintained. So that's very basic approach of academic writing, old to new information to maintain a good flow. So in that way, I would say we cannot directly say it's a continuation, by the way, because the definition is repeated, right? Can we say that? It could be a good definition, I mean, good continuation if we do not repeat the definition again. If you want to merge passage A and B, would you agree with me? Or you have any observation?
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
So in text A, sentence 7, when we define the RO, the
Right.
actual subject in the sentence is membrane desalination. So
Correct.
that is different from RO, right? Like it's not directly introduced the
RO, right, as a topic.
Right.
Yeah.
right. So passage A does not directly introduce RO.
Yeah, but now here the point is, if you see the next sentence or the connected clause relies on reverse osmosis, a process in which a thin, now you already defined in the apposition or the connected clause, right?
Okay,
Now,
yeah.
yeah,
Then text B only introduced the application of RO instead of direct definition of RO.
correct. And we have a chapter.
Also,
Go ahead.
yeah, also like in A, I feel like he described the process and like how the process is done, but in B he defined what is the RO. So I think we can merge them because they are different. Both of them, they are different.
Yeah, both of them are different. Just we have to be a little careful with this first sentence if we want to merge these two passages. Then we have to re-edit this first sentence of passage B. That's what I would say, because we already have been introduced about RO, a process in which a thin semi-permeable membrane. So we already know a little bit. So now we cannot just start a passage with the word RO systems are often, I mean, it seems like passage B is different because it's using RO here as an abbreviation. Then we have to use the RO in bracket in the 7th sentence as well. When we first time introduce something, we use the full title and the abbreviation. And later on, we don't need to mention the full form. We can directly say even RO membrane systems are often used for, just a little bit we have to edit because it's talking about application, right? You are correct, because it's not, the whole passage is an extended definition of the application process, not only introducing what RO means. Here, it doesn't talk about the whole application process. Rather, it says, it just defines the words. Reverse osmosis, a process in which a thin membrane is placed between. So it's one sentence, right? Can we agree on that?
Yeah, so in the first paragraph, it just like defines, it tells you what the process is.
Right.
And the second paragraph is talking about like reverse osmosis as a system, like all the systems and all. So,
right, and we can connect them. That's true.
yeah, so that's why, yeah, that's why I think they are not connected. So yeah, I mean.
Yeah, so but if you have to connect it, we can just re-edit the first sentence in passage B, and then they could be connected if we want. You know, so that's also cool. All good. So we just got an idea of, based on different audience, we can have different style and approach of placing subjects. Both are correct. I'm not saying we cannot place RO as definition here. That's also fine. We can also do this. Depends on our topic. Maybe the definition of RO is a very vital point of a research paper. So then you start with this. That's also fine. All good? Let's move to the next example. That's task 7. 6, 7. Got it. Now this is a different style, problem solution text. Task 7, page 21. If you type on the box, page 21, it will directly take you to this page. We have here 12 sentences, and what I want you all to do, highlight which one is the situation. We are learning here the problem solution structure. So we have a situation, we have a problem, and we might have some reasoning why this is a problem. Then as a writer, you want to offer a solution. And we do not end there. After solution, we also talk about evaluation of the solution or implication of the solution. So try to find out this structure and just write a comment. Let's say this is problems. For instance, let me find out the problem. Sentence 4 and 5. So, however, in recent years, researchers have identified a new threat. And what is that threat? This is the threat, sentence 5. So we get the problem here. That's what we will do right now. I'll just gave you one sample. So we'll find out the first 2 sentences is talking about this. The next 2 sentences is talking about this. So by analyzing these 12 structures, we are approaching a problem solution structure. How a problem solution text is structured or organized. Let's take 5 minutes and read these 12 sentences, and we try to identify the structure, where we mention the implication or where we mention the solution. Identify those things and write it here. Then we can discuss and come back. Yeah. All good? 5 minutes. It's on page 21 if you couldn't be here. Are we all done? You can also comment on someone's comment. Let's say 2-3 people highlighted the whole text. Now you don't have any new place to highlight. That's okay. We all do not need a single chair to sit on. We can share a couch and write together. It's fine. So it's, you can comment on someone's comment. That's easier, right? So it's otherwise we have only 12 sentences, 18 students, let's say. It's if everyone highlights one even, we're done. That will be, difficult. So, for instance, let's say I can comment on someone's comment like, yeah, very good. Solution. I have a question. So let's say sentence 9 is, or 8, from 8 we get to see the approach to solution, right? Given this uncertainty, efforts are underway. Try to look at the subjects also in this whole passage while reading. Like impersonal noun, the subject, studies identified, not saying we identified or they identified, right? Efforts have traditionally focused. So that's how the impersonal approach or objective tone is established. Rather than writing, people crave for fresh water, you can write the demands for fresh water have been increasing. So try to understand the objectivity in this short passage. The demand is the subject. So I have a question to all of you. So let's say we see solution from sentence 8. 6, 7, what would you say? What is sentence 6 and 7? We got it. Sentence 5 is the problem statement. So what should you say about 6 and 7?
Maybe like details about the problem.
Like evaluation of the problem.
That's a good word to use. Let's say we can also say these drugs easily enter the water supply when they eliminated the okay, so impact of the problem, can we say that? Or affect, what it affects or how it affects.
Sentence 6 is giving just an example.
Yeah, good.
Better explain the problem.
Yeah.
But 7 is author is just citing that there are no concrete results.
Although the amount of these drugs in freshwater supplies is small, their impact on freshwater supply and human health is yet to be established, right? Right. So sentence 7 is actually a problem as well. So we can say explanation of the problem. Can we do that? Yeah, if we have to design a structure like situation, problem, and then the book says on top, you would see here, situation, problem, then solution. No, I mean, even after saying the problem, we actually talk about more about the problem. That what is that more? That's what I wanted to find out. Could be explanation of the problem. Example, right? So I'm just extending the structure. Explanation of the problem, example, to convince that this is a problem, could be, that's one. Yeah. Anything else I could write? Right. So that's also the part of the problem phase. Yeah, good to go. And when we talk about solution, let's see, I have another question. This effort involves blah, 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 blah. So again, we see another example. For example, so you're elaborating the solution with an example to convince the solution, right? That this is why this solution, how it could work. So we do not end with solution only. We give an example, then we evaluate whether the solution will work or not. Or actually, I can also write here, while evaluating, we can also talk about the limitation. That's also fine. Limitation means if the solution is not effective in certain situations, we can mention those situations. That's also part of the structure. So it's situation, then you talk about the problem, you explain the problem, give an example, impact of the problem, whatever you say it, and then we talk about the solution. And when we talk about the solution, we give another example and this evaluation of the solution, that why this is a good solution, and also limitation of the solution, in which cases this solution might not work. That's also good, a good approach to a paper when you talk about your own limitations. We are on the same page. Anything else you would like to address on this passage? Anyone would like to say something? Nothing new? Are we good to move on? Okay. Now, an alternative example of problem solution text, the next page, page 22. If you type here, it will take you here. So this is also a problem solution text, but written in a very different way compared to the other one, the one we just did right now. So I would request all of you to read this 14 sentences. It won't take much time. It's written in a very easy language. And here also we see problem, but here what we will do is we'll try to answer a few questions here. Let's say question number 4. Let's only focus on that. And question number 1, what type of audience was this written for? Question 1 and question 4. Can we do that? Yeah. Not all the questions, just 1 and 4. In this problem solution text, how the problem is mentioned, and what do you think, what kind of audience this passage aimed at? 5 minutes. Are we all done reading this one? Shall we start discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah, all good. Nice. So while reading this passage, you have seen a different approach because my question to all of you, Shravan also wrote here, we got the location here. My question is why we need to talk about the location, or why the author or authors decided to talk about the location here in this passage, and then the country situation, economy. So until sentence 4, 1 to 4, we get a background, or let's say 1 to 3. From 4, we get the topic. The topic is E-West cycling. Topic is different than thesis statement. Thesis statement is where we get the claim. That's a different topic, different thing to talk about. So we get the topic, okay, it's E-West recycling. That's the topic, not a claim. 1 to 3 is the background. My question is why we need to talk about sentence 1 to 3 and why we cannot start directly with sentence 4. What's your take on that?
Maybe to explore the context of the situation.
I would rather say, I mean, we can directly start with Ghana emerged as an important center for e-waste recycling and disposal with this sentence, unless the author is assuming that the audience has no idea that Ghana is located on West Africa's Gulf. So we don't know. You know what I mean? When the audience is totally unaware of the context, that you have to mention where it is located. So that's why this is an alternative example based on the audience. So the author is assuming that, and it's correct. There's no problem in it. If you want to give a larger context or a detailed context, just assuming that your audience might not know where Ghana is. That's what my observation is. And let's move on. So we got the topic, e-waste cycling. Let's see what comment we have. Yes, we have a little touch of definition. E-waste consists of electronic devices, and you're defining it. So it's written for a broader audience, I would say. And the pros, right, Yelin, you said it very well. And then the industry poses environmental, we got the problem statement here. Also, Adedayo mentioned that the problem was introduced as a con of an industry that has been stated as beneficial to the people. So it's now we are getting to the thesis. The thesis is actually, the thesis statement is the problems of e-waste and looking for a solution. It's a problem solution text. And then the cons we have here, these process expose workers, and then solution, and also evaluation of the solution, right? One drawback to this approach is this. The second solution, which is more viable according to the author, does the rather placing the responsibility of safe handling of e-waste. So the final solution that he is prescribing or she is prescribing is given here. So that's the structure. After evaluation, giving another solution, and then establishing that with an example. Anyone has any perspective to share about this particular sample? Oh, good. Yeah, nice. Thank you. So let's move to our outline. So when you click on modules, if you go to Canvas, I'm expecting this pre-class task. Before tomorrow's class, I request all of you watch these 3 videos here, which was a pre-class task for today's class actually. There's Padlet. I also introduced Padlet in my introductory video that I emailed you earlier a few days ago. So if you click here, it will take you to Padlet, and in Padlet you can comment on these responses, the questions that I have asked here. And I can see here only 2 or 3 from this course, 3 students from this course responded to Padlet. So that's a request. Another thing that I want you guys to do, I lost the Canvas. In the module section, for tomorrow's class, what is more important is tomorrow before we meet, I'm sorry, it's too much work. If you think so, it's fine. You can take it as flexible as possible. If you are very busy, that's okay. But try at least to watch these videos for tomorrow, before tomorrow's class. That would help the class to move smooth and go farther. You know, I agree the summer is intensive, but it is what it is. So that's pre-class task for before tomorrow's lecture, lecture 2, Tuesday. Now there is a task here. An article that I have give you access. You don't have to write anything before tomorrow's class, but read this doc file. You all can access this doc file. Before tomorrow's class, just read this doc file. You don't have to do any writing before tomorrow's class. All good? And what we will do after reading, we'll talk about it in the class. Okay? I'll instruct you properly what to do in the class. Just read this doc file before coming to the next class, and the videos of today's pre-class section and tomorrow's pre-class section. If you click on this, it will take you to the video folder. Okay? Thank you so much. It was wonderful to meet all of you, and hopefully we'll meet soon. We are done for today. Can we wrap up? And if you have any question, you can ask me.